morning. It's Monday, the 16th of May, and we're about to open using a different method here, using the MACD to RSI and opening range. So I'm looking for a turn here on both the MACD and the RSI on Apple. And we've got a turn here on the RSI, but I'm still waiting on the MACD to give me a signal. Looking at everything else, even NVIDIA is oversold. So everything's oversold, looks like. So we're going to look for the best opportunity here. It looks like the market's sort of in a free fall for the moment. Upstart's not going to make our list on the open for sure. Apple is somewhat in a deep decline. NVIDIA is probably not going to make our opening list. QQQ. Rivian could be a candidate. SPY, looks like SPY has turned. So I'm going to take a trade on, oops, that's for SPY. We're looking at, I bought Apple. I had that in my setting here, which was not exactly what I wanted to do. That's why I need to pay attention to what's going on. So I had Apple here in my trading platform, or my active trader, and my intent was to get in on this SPY trade because of this turn here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to sit in Apple here and look for some gains. So we're oversold. We were oversold on Apple. We're no longer. So we're turning up here on the RSI. All right. So we finally have a turn here on the MACD, which is what we wanted to give us a signal. Hasn't quite turned yet, but we're getting, as you can see, a darker red, which signals that we are starting to move to the upside. We really want this to flatten out and then to turn, and we want it to cross the slower trend line here. So one thing that's going to happen as well, at some point, probably about 9:46, you're going to see some lines appear on my screen, and those are from the opening range. And we're going to use those for opening range breakouts. So I'm in this Apple trade now. I'm sort of stuck with it because I wasn't really paying attention.
SPY is turning.
Yeah, everything's moving down. So let's keep our eye on this. Keep our eyes peeled. All right, so we're not getting what we need out of Apple. Got in way too early. Maybe we'll get some relief here on our trade. Just going to keep our eyes peeled. Looks like the market's going to be positive today, so that's one thing in our favor, and we do have time on our side. So we're turning to the upside. We're still oversold.
Now I've noticed you have that line there at 50 in the RSI. Is that a line that you put in? Because I usually put that line in on my RSI.
No, this line here.
Yeah,
No, that was there, put there automatically. Yeah, that was put there automatically by the application. So we still don't have a reversal signal. What I'm going to do when I get the reversal, I'm simply going to add to my current Apple trade. And what I'm looking for is, again, I'm looking for the MACD to turn up. We've got the RSI, which looks like it's trying to turn. I'm using the VWAP. This green line is the VWAP. This is the 5-day EMA.
right.
This is the 20. I'm sorry, no, this is the 8. I've changed my settings. And this is the 20. All right, so it looks like we're getting a turn here on
Apple. Yeah, I think.
on Apple. So we've got the MACD look like we're supposed to flatten out here. Still not quite flat, still pointing down. But this does signal that we're going to turn. So this spinning top here, spinning top. I'm on a 2-minute. I'm going to go to a 1-minute chart. Give us a little bit more of an advanced notification. So now we've got a, looks like a flat line here on the MACD, and we've got these signals here for a reversal. We really want to get above this 5-day EMA on the 1-minute. So we've got the reversal here. So I'm going to go ahead and add to my Apple position based on, again, this flattening out of the MACD. So the MACD looks like it's about to cross. The fast moving line is about to cross the slow moving line here, the blue crossing the gold. So this was a signal for us to get in. We had this movement on the RSI to the upside, so we're no longer oversold. MACD's turning up. So that would be our positive signal for a move to the upside on Apple. This is really when we should have gotten into Apple. And I was looking at the SPY chart at the time. And this is what I saw on SPY, or the SPY or the Qs, one of them. But we were looking at this and, of course, made the trade on Apple, which it's going to work out. But actually, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at the Qs, which was oversold here. This would have been the trade to take at this point when the Qs turned up and this flattened. And certainly you could have waited until it crossed. Then that would have signaled the time to make the entry on the Qs. All right, so we're in the Apple trade. And now we've got the MACD crossing.
So you use the MACD crossover.
Yes, just a regular, it's just a regular MACD with the traditional settings. So I just type in MACD and studies. So for example, let me show you what I have. So I go to studies and I just type in MACD and I choose the one on the top. I don't choose any of the special ones here.
Right.
Same thing for RSI. For RSI, I just choose the regular RSI. I don't make any changes to the settings. So now I'm going to go back to my 1 minute chart. Let's kind of keep an eye on this. I think the 1 minute's probably going to be too fast, but we'll keep an eye on this 1 minute chart. I do have still the ATR trailing stops. I think those are good. So again, this is the 5-day EMA. This is the 8, and this is the 20, and this is the MACD. I'm sorry, and this is the VWAP. So when we are trending above, I want to make sure that my candle stays above the 5-day EMA if possible. And if it falls through, then I'll be looking carefully at the 8 to see if the 8's going to hold. If it does not, and if it falls through and touches and closes below the 20, I'm going to exit.
Yeah, that's what I need to go through these settings because I don't have what you have when I bring up the MACD histogram. I don't have those crossover lines. You know, I don't.
So again, you should be able to just select the regular MACD. Just
I did.
You go in, and you don't have the crossover lines?
No.
Well, I didn't change anything in my settings. I just selected the MACD, and we can look at your screen a little bit later. But you want to show me now, or?
I'm just changing. I think I'm seeing where this may have started.
All right, so again, this is still, I think, a good trade. And we are using today volume, we're using the RSI, we're using the MACD, and we're looking for things that are oversold on the open. And when we move from oversold to above, we want to see the MACD line at least flat.
Flat now, really.
Yeah, ideally crossing over to the upside would be good, but you can see we've got the darker red here showing that there's movement to the upside. So again, we're using a 2-minute chart. We can also use a 1 minute. And in the 1 minute chart, you'll clearly see here, this is where you would make your entry because again, we're oversold here. The MACD is flat. Now we've crossed above. So this is where you'd make the entry to the upside. So I'm going to go back to the 2 minute because it doesn't give me whiplash, and just sort of follow along here. So using the VWAP, the green line is the VWAP, the 5-day EMA, the 8-day EMA, the 20-day EMA. Once we have support above these trend lines and above the MACD, then we would look to stay above the 5-day EMA. And if for some reason that does not hold, we'd be looking carefully at what happens with the 8. And then if we close below the 20, we would be out of our trade. So again, so we've got here, this is the RSI. We're in oversold territory. Here we're starting to turn around. The MACD has flattened, which is a good sign. So this is where we would look to take the trade. And looks like we're going to get a crossover on the MACD to the upside. And we're going to watch carefully. So now about 9:46 a.m., so in about 2 minutes, you're going to see some lines that will form on my screen automatically. And those are from the opening range breakout signal. And it will represent the high and the low for the stock at 9:45. So wherever the high was during that period, whatever the low was during that period, it will automatically put those lines on the chart. And it will also put the fib lines on the chart as well, which I don't really use, but they will be there. And then you can use that similar to how we've used the opening high and opening low.
Yeah,
If you're making a trade and you haven't gotten any signals here, then you can use the opening high and opening low to make your entry. And ideally, when a stock breaks through the opening high, we want to see it come back and test the opening high and then move up. If it breaks through the opening low, come back and test the opening low and then move down. So we'll just keep an eye out for those signals, which should be coming on the screen here in about another 1 minute. Good morning, Dave.
Hey, Richard, good morning. I'm going to be in and out, so if I don't respond, please understand. We're in this
Okay.
meeting. We're doing a Zoom from the Pacific Ocean, Ritz-Carlton, Half Moon Bay.
Oh,
May
that's right.
and Hope are here, so.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. All right, well, we're using a different trading methodology this morning. We're using the MACD, the RSI, and we're using a 2-minute chart. Looks like the market's turning against us. We have an ATR trailing stop here as support, so we're not going to make any decisions yet. We're still waiting on the opening high and opening low to form, and we should get that here soon. I think I do have that set, the ORB. Yep, I do. Okay.
now the ORB I would find
In the Discord.
okay, under you.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting this crossover.
Well, we're getting this bounce here
Right.
off of the ATR trailing stop. I'm going to take a look at some of the other things we've got on our list here, like Rivian. NVIDIA. Hughes. And Upstart. All right, so we just have a lot of volatility. So now you see the green lines and the red lines. So this is the high for Apple at 945. This was the low for Apple at 945. And these are the Fibonacci lines. So you see it automatically put those lines on my screen and they will then persist all the way across. So now you don't have to draw the opening high and opening low any longer. And it will do that for everything in my watch list. So if I go here, you see the same thing with NVIDIA, for example, with the Qs. And the Qs are bearish. So you enter a trade here to the downside on the Qs, which may indicate that Apple is going to break down. So we're going to keep our eye on Apple here. It's no longer oversold, so we're expecting it to move to the upside. But we've just got a lot of volatility here on the VIX. So we're going to use this ATR trailing stop at 144.44 as our gauge to stay in this trade.
You have to step away for a moment.
All right, so again, just when you come back, we'll still be here in the same place. We're gonna keep our eye on Apple
Okay.
here. Looks like Apple is
But
finding
I can
support.
hear you where I am. Just
Okay, all right, so we again have this movement to the upside on Apple. Looks like the opening low, which we have set using the opening range, is going to be pretty good support for Apple on the downside. Now, if we get the move that I'm anticipating, I've got Apple going to about 147 before it has any real trouble, maybe even 150. And I may add to my position here. So this again signals reversal after this move to the downside. So we made our trade based on using the RSI and the MACD. We would make another entry once Apple breaks through the opening high here, or the opening range. That would be an opening range breakout, and we would buy to the upside. But we want to see Apple break through and then test this support level. So we're currently on a 2-minute chart. We can very easily use a 1-minute chart. And again, we're using the VWAP. This green line here is the VWAP. This is the 5-day EMA, the 20, I'm sorry, the 5-day, the 8, and the 20. So we've changed our setup a little bit. And we're now taking advantage of a different method of trading. And I'm simply switching back and forth between a 1-minute chart and a 2-minute chart. All right, we're getting a nice move on Apple to the upside. That's what we need. Apple seems to be facing some resistance. It's now hitting the VWAP, so we need to clear the VWAP here, get above this fib level. We do have support. We do have the MACD showing positive signs. We haven't taken a look at the VIX today, so let's take a look and see what's happening with the VIX. So the VIX is hitting resistance. We drew this resistance from the long candle here. Lots of resistance. So it's got this algorithmic resistance level, the 5-day EMA, the 20, now the 50, and this. So we're expecting the VIX to fall relatively hard today. All right, we need Apple to get above the VWAP. Still a lot of volatility in the market. Having this opening range on your chart is really great. It's a great trading tool. It is a script, so you won't find it in Thinkorswim. It's a script that was developed specifically for putting, again, the opening range on the chart. The way you use it is on the opening range, we start at 9:30 and we end at 9:45. You can set this to end at 9:40. You can set it to end at 10 o'clock. Doesn't really matter where you have it set, but it needs to fit your trading style. I have this set for 15 minutes, and the idea is to be able to know what direction the stock's going to take. So it's taking all the volatility out of the opening of the market. And you saw, we had a lot of that when we opened. So now the stock has settled down, and we should start trending in a given direction. We believe that direction is going to be to the upside, but we are running into some resistance. This is really a mini consolidation going on here. So the VIX is still giving us somewhat a bit of trouble. We're not quite yet fully bullish on the Apple trade because we're below the VWAP, the green line here. We're consolidating right at the VWAP. We do have the MACD moving to the upside. We need these lines to diverge to give us a strong signal. We want to make sure we stay above the ATR trailing stop. That is our stop loss area. Even if we break the opening low, we just need to stay above the 8-year trailing stop to keep us in this trade. Let's see what's happening with Rivian. We're gonna put in our other account on Rivian. We're expecting it to decline. All right, so we're breaking down on Apple. I'm gonna watch carefully here and of course protect our account. We want to use this as our stop loss, essentially 144.44. So we need to stay above this with respect to the closing of our candles. So again, we do have somewhat of a consolidation here this morning on Apple. Looking at the Qs, looking at the SPY. Looking at NVIDIA. Upstart. Looks like there are calls being bought on Apple near the ask at this particular juncture. The VIX is still a bit of a problem. We are looking at a VIX that is still below resistance here, this long candle resistance, and below the opening range high. So rather comfortable with this trade. I'm going to step away for just one moment. All right, so we're still holding above support on Apple. Looks like now we're finally getting our move to the upside above the VWAP. We just need to clear it. The VWAP is still resistance at the moment, but looks like we're breaking through on volume. Not quite. So we do have support on the 5-day and the 8-day EMA. There's resistance at the VWAP and the 20. Looks like we're going to clear that. So this has been a consolidation. You can see here, using the fib line, using this opening range low, consolidating right in this area. So should we break out to the upside, we should be good and we should start trending to the upside. And should we break out of this consolidation, I would look to then add to my current Apple calls. I'm not going to make multiple trades today. I'm going to try to make one trade today and to be done. That way not, of course, commit my life to my computer screen. And one profitable trade. All right, so we're above the VWAP now. We've got, again, a nice move on the MACD to the upside. So I'm going to go ahead and add here to my Apple contracts. Just to keep our eye on this. Let's take a look at what's happening with my Rivian. All right, so. All right, so good. Apple is finally making its move. Good. All right, so looks like we have good support here on Apple. And again, we're using a 2-minute chart versus 5. We've been using the 5-minute previously, but we're going to save with the 2-minute and the 1-minute chart. Now, it's interesting on the 1-minute chart where the opening range high is, there's also an ATR trailing stop. So we're going to expect to run into a little trouble at about 146.20. So we'll keep that in mind. $146.20, we're going to expect some trouble for Apple. It looks like the VIX has finally given up and is falling. Once we break through the opening range and test that support, we would then maybe look to add to our Apple contracts. We're just going to make one trade today. And it's going to be this morning. And we like to be out of this and be done 10:45 or so, 10:15, 10:45 at the latest. So when we made our entry, we were back here based on the fact that we had this move from oversold on Apple, and we had a flattening out of the MACD. Apple ran into some trouble here though, and because of the stubbornness of the VIX and those sellers, of course, we ended up with a consolidation here. So we're expecting to break out of this consolidation to the upside. We're going to look to have some resistance here at this opening range high, which is also where we have an ATR trailing stop on the 1 minute. That's at 146.20 thereabouts. And then we would look to break through that. And then once we break through and test that as support, we would look to buy a couple more contracts on Apple. I'm looking at a level of resistance about 147.50, 148. Like to be able to make that move by 10:30, 10:45 to take advantage of the volatility in the morning and the IV and benefit from this trade going. And if this goes sideways into the afternoon, it doesn't really help me. All right, so we are above the VWAP, and that's a good sign. We've got the 5 crossing the VWAP here to the upside. And it'd be nice to get all of our moving averages aligned properly. We want to see the 5 above, and then below that, we want to see the 8. Below that, we want to see the 20, and then below that, we want to see the VWAP. That will give us some comfort that our upside move is going to have some strength and support. Right now, we're just dealing with volatility. So we are looking to have this hold, the support level here, hold. And again, we're using a 2-minute chart versus 5-minute. We'd love to see some volume come in on this move for Apple. I like the green here on the VWAP, I'm sorry, on the MACD. So we would look to be a bit concerned if we get an oversold signal on Apple. That would be a concern. And at that point, we would then start to look for the MACD to, again, flatten out. If it doesn't, if it still seems to be pointing up, then that would keep us in the trade. But if it seems to be flattening out and turning, then we would look to exit. We'd also use the 20-day EMA as a decision point as well. So we've got this hammer here at the top of the move. So this is not unexpected. We do want the support to hold. We do see a darkening of the green on our MACD. So it looks like it's, again, we still have some momentum to the upside. This is just a consolidation. And we're looking to break out of this consolidation. Take a look at some of the other things we have in our watch list. So NVIDIA, this would have been a nice entry on NVIDIA here. Again, looking at using the RSI and MACD. So here we've got this flattening of the MACD. We make our entry here. We would have gotten in right around here. So even though it appears to have slowed down, we'd still be okay. We'd be profitable. On the Qs, a lot of volatility on the Qs. Again, we'd have looked to gotten in on the Qs here, which would have been maybe a little bit early, but we would have stayed in based on what we're seeing. Yeah, let's see here. Going back to Apple. Oh, there we go. We've got some movement now to the upside. Finally, we got volume coming in also. So we're approaching the opening range. Again, we're looking at this as resistance. We know we've got on the 1 minute, we have an ATR trailing stop. Looks like we're going to break it. We want to test this. I'm going to go to a 1 minute chart because I'm going to enter on a 1 minute versus a 2 minute. We want to test this opening range breakout here. Make sure that this becomes support. It's currently resistance. All right, so it looks like it is going to be support. So I'm going to go ahead and take another trade on Apple. So again, this is the opening range breakout. This is put on the screen by a script, so you don't have to write it. We're testing this high. We're in a 1 minute chart, and we're above support. Our EMAs are lined up properly. They're above the VWAP. Let's see if we have the same on the 2 minute chart. The 2 minute chart, we have the same. Any questions about this method of trading? It's pretty clear. So hearing none, this is, again, so now in terms of decision making, what we're going to be watching for is we're going to be watching for an oversold signal. So similar to the overbought here, oversold signal is going to be red at the top on our RSI. We'd also be looking at the MACD to make sure that it is still moving to the upside, because if it flattens out, that would be concerned. And then if we get an oversold, we would look to see if we have support first on our 5-day, then our 8, and our 20. So we expected this resistance here. So if we look at a 1 minute chart, we will see that we hit this ATR trailing stop resistance along with the opening range. But we're finding support here on the 5-day EMA and the 8. There we go. So now we've got a breakout. So here's our breakout. So we have a fib level here. We can use that also, or we can use our RSI. Or we can use our EMAs. So we have lots of things we can use here for decision making. I'm gonna go back to a 2-minute chart. And we're just gonna watch this move. All right, so I'm already at 10.3% for the day. So I'm gonna be looking for my exit here for Apple. And yes, I may get out too early. However, that's not necessarily a problem. Change this to a 1-minute chart. So we're watching here. We don't want to fall and close below the 20-day EMA. We are not showing oversold yet either. So we have clear support here. The opening range breakout. Now we've got the 5-day EMA providing support as well. So what we've done, we've broken through this. We've tested this area for support. Support looks like it's holding. So if we were not in a trade for Apple, this is where we would enter to the upside. Let's check on our VIX. All right, so the VIX is still falling. Looking at the VIX on a daily chart, the VIX could fall to 25. That's going to be extremely bullish for Apple. So we may stay in this trade and try and maximize our gain today. So this is a shooting star. And we've got this decline reversal here. So looks like we're finding support here on the 5-day EMA. We need this support to hold and then to break back through. So on a 2-minute chart, we haven't really broken the opening range. We did on the 1-minute. And then we tested it here, and it appears it is holding, but we're kind of going sideways. So maybe the 2-minute is a better time frame for entry, and then the 1-minute for exit. But we've got a consolidation here now. All right, so we consolidated here in this area on Apple, and now we're consolidating along the opening range high. So far, we're holding on the 5-day EMA. So we will watch this carefully. We are above the VWAP, so that's positive. Shooting star, spinning top, doji. So we are looking for now a move back to the upside. We're looking for Apple to find support. We'd love to see some volume come in on this candle. We have 3 minutes left. So the 5-day EMA is holding as support. The resistance appears to be here at the opening range high. And again, this high was established after the first 15 minutes using a script. All right, we're looking for support here on this opening range high, and this would be our breakout. Let's see how it looks on a 1-minute chart. So we've got an inverted hammer here, a hammer. So those are both bullish after this move down. We do see our MACD flattening out, but we are not oversold. So we are expecting to overcome this resistance. Nice move on Apple to the upside. We're approaching oversold. All right, so I'm at 14% gain on my account. I'm gonna have to make some decisions here. So I'm looking. We use a 2-minute chart, so we are looking here to make sure that if we hit an oversold level, we're gonna watch the MACD, and maybe I'll stay with the 1-minute. Get an early move here. Just a lot of volatility on this move up, but we do appreciate the fact that we have found support above the opening range. So this is the opening range breakout. targets moved up. So based on the movement, so it looks like we're now targeting 147.90. So maybe 148. That's where the 5-day EMA is on the daily chart. 147.90. All right, so we're looking for support on Apple to hold here at this 20-day EMA. Preferably, it holds above the opening range. Go back to a 2-minute. We got close to this fib level and then it ran into some trouble. But we're expecting still Apple to continue back to the upside. So looking at the VIX, the VIX is going to run into some trouble here with this 20-day EMA and the opening range low. All right, and we're at 1033. So Marcy, you still with us?
Yeah. I'm here.
Any questions about what we've done today?
No,
About our decision making, how it works?
no, this is really good.
You know, I should learn because I know better. When my account hit 14%, I should have taken it because again, the idea is to grow the account by 10% a day. And whenever you hit that 10% number,
You go out.
take the profit. Yeah, because if you can hit 10% a day on average, you'll double the account value every 7.2 days. And what I've found as of right now, by not doing that, by staying longer, I end up giving back the profit. So I think Apple's going to continue to move to the upside. But right now, I have swung completely to the other side. I don't think this move is over for Apple, but that's a lesson. When you hit that 10%, take the profit. Obviously, if it's higher than 10, then for sure. But that's for your total account value, not for the trade. All right, so I'm going to sign off. I'm going to join the room with Dr. A and friends.
Thank you.
And I will see you tomorrow.